Hello everyone and welcome to another Pyro Gaming video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at all the weapons that I keep on each of my characters, as well as all the weapons in my vault, why I keep them, and why I don't hoard weapons like so many other people do. You go look in my vault, it's just got one page, and I have an extensive amount of room, and I don't even use half the stuff in my vault. So, getting started with the characters, if you go look at any of my characters, any of my 3 characters on Xbox One or any of my 3 characters on PS4, they will all have the exact same weapons in the exact same slots. So, for example, Angel's Advocate. This has become my new go-to primary in all of Destiny. All 6 of my characters have their own Angel's Advocate. All 6 of my characters have their own Suros Regime. I love Suros Regime. It will always hold a very special place in my heart. Being a Year 1 Destiny player, Suros used to be the shiz, and even still, it's not bad. So I keep a Suros on each character just for when I want to get nostalgic. Mida Multi-Tool is on all of my characters except for my Warlocks. On my Warlocks on PlayStation and Xbox One, this slot is occupied by Talilok, because Talilok is better than Mida Multi-Tool. It's super good. Next up, Bad Juju. Bad Juju is one of my favorite exotics. Anytime I'm doing a strike, anytime I'm doing a story mission, a raid, whatever the case may be, if I need a super pretty quick, I will switch over to Bad Juju, do some work, get my super, then switch back to something else. Alternatively, if there are small arms modifiers in the activity that I'm doing, Bad Juju will be my main primary, because with small arms, Bad Juju does some absolute work. Next up, the Cocytus SR4. I was lucky enough to get a really good roll on this with Firefly, Handlaid Stock, and Icarus isn't the best perk. I would much rather have something like Triple Tap here, but it does have the Impulse S2 sight, which is my favorite sight on this, and this thing hits like an absolute truck. I bought this from the gunsmith, and I bought 6 packages total. I bought one on every character on both Xbox One and PS4, so they all have the exact same Cocytus SR4, which is awesome. Next up, the Palindrome. Each character has a Palindrome. If I do play Crucible, which is very, very infrequently, the Palindrome is my main primary. As far as the roles that each character has, each character does have a little bit different role. I like to have luck in the chamber, so I started with the Crucible Vendor role Palindrome on all of my characters, but as I got packages and got them with luck in the chamber, reinforced barrel, maybe something like mulligan spray and play, then, I kind of swapped them out. But they're all pretty close to being the same. There's not a whole lot of difference between all my palindromes. Next up, the Burning Eye Adept on Xbox One, which is what I'm on right now. All 3 characters have their own Burning Eye because it's just a solid scout rifle. Zen Moment explosive rounds, small bore, smart drift control. It is a workhorse weapon. Alternatively, on PS4, I do not do trials on PS4, or I have not done trials on PS4, I should say. So in the Burning Eyes place on PS4, in this slot, you will find the Tunella with life support, Handlaid Stock, and Firefly. Very, very, very good primary. So that's my primaries. With these primaries, I can do pretty much any activity in Destiny and be fine. There are certain activities in the Destiny universe that I will have to switch my loadout and pull something from my vault for a primary, secondary, or heavy. We're going to get into that in a second. But as far as specials go, let's go ahead and finish up the character inventory first. I keep a Arc Saladin's Vigil on every one of my characters. It's really good. Really, really good, I should say, fusion rifle. They all have pretty much the same role, max stability, close to max impact. The only difference is some of them have enhanced battery, so it has a 5-round magazine instead of a 4. But nonetheless, this is usually my main special. Honestly, fusion rifles are in a great place right now. They're a lot more forgiving than sniper rifles are, so I've been using a lot of fusions. So moving on, we have Icebreaker. I keep an Icebreaker on every character because it's Icebreaker. You should keep one on every character. Icebreaker, granted, it's not what it was in Year 1. It's still very, very useful. Anytime Juggler is on, this is my go-to special. If it's Juggler and Specialist, it's all Icebreaker, guys. That's all I use. Well, almost all I use. Sometimes I will also use Invective. Specialist with Juggler, Invective is also really, really good. I keep an Invective on each character. I might throw this on from time to time in the Crucible. Same for this. I actually have not played Crucible, now that I think of it, in all of Age of Triumph. But if I did play Crucible in Age of Triumph, it would probably be one of these two weapons that I would use as my special because of the changes to the economy. Next up, the Telesto, which I believe is the only Void exotic special weapon in all of Destiny, which is pretty crazy. Everything is either Arc or Solar. That's pretty insane. But Telesto, nonetheless, is really good. If it's Void Burn, this is usually my go-to special. If it's Void Burn and Specialist, Telesto is the besto, as Diet Cola for the win would say. It hits like an absolute truck. It's great to have. I keep one on each character. Next up, my Sniper. This was the vendor roll Event Horizon, back before the vendor roll started changing each week, and I mean, it's pretty much perfect. Spray and play, small bore, hidden hand. The only thing that I would change is I would maybe put triple tap here instead of spray and play, but other than that, it's just absolutely perfect. So I have the exact same Event Horizon on all 6 characters. Next up, Black Spindle. I use this on stuff that has maybe Solar Burn and Specialist. I can absolutely melt a boss with this, whether it be Challenge of Elders, Strikes, Nightfalls, whatever the case may be. Alternatively, this is usually my go-to special for a lot of the raid bosses, especially in stuff like King's Fall and Wrath of the Machine. I use this a lot. The only time that I change is on Axis. I'll put on Dark Drinker. But other than that, it's just an all-around really, really solid special, or sniper, exotic sniper. It's really good. I would recommend carrying this on all of your characters as well because it's super, super versatile. This is a Arms Day package for a Strongbow D shotgun. Once I get the right roll, there will be a Void shotgun that I keep here. That way I have legendary Void, Solar, and Arc on all 6 characters, I should say. I bought this package on all 6. So hopefully I get that package soon, don't have to wait too long, and that will be that. So moving on to Heavy, of course we have the Gallarhorn. Of course we keep Gallarhorn on all 6 characters. Next up, the Raise Lighter, just super solid. I keep one of each of the swords, minus Young Wolf's Howl because it's not very good. But Raise Lighter is just absolutely great to have. It's never a bad thing. Dark Drinker is mainly for raids if it's Void Burn and there's a lot of enemies that don't slam really hard. I'll go ahead and pop this on. Boltcaster, underrated, man. Honestly, with Arc Burn, Boltcaster is amazing for clearing ads. You can clear out so many ads with Boltcaster. It's not even funny. So I definitely keep one of those on each character. Also, every now and then, Shiro over in the Iron Temple will give you a bounty to kill Fallen in the Plague Lands with arc damage. I use that for this. Next up, a Quillam's Terminus. I have this on all 6 of my Xbox, or all 3 of my Xbox characters. On my PlayStation characters, I have not done King's Fall yet, so I do not have the Quillam's Terminus. So in that place, I use a Solar Ruin Wake heavy machine gun, which is really good. The only reason I prefer Quillam's over something like a Ruin Wake is because Quillam's holds 42 rounds, whereas Ruin Wake only holds 31. 35 if you have extended mag. But nonetheless, I just like to have a solar heavy machine gun here for whenever I need it. Next up, Sleeper Simulant, another great exotic to keep for pretty much anything, man. Strikes, Nightfalls, raids, this thing hits like an absolute truck, and if you can land persistent crit shots, this is going to do a lot more damage than even Gallarhorn does. So I keep a Sleeper Simulant on each character, even though admittedly I don't use it all that much. I typically go with Gallarhorn, but Sleeper Simulant definitely has its place. And lastly, we have a JLB-47 rocket launcher, Arms Day package. I'm waiting for a Void roll on this, and then I'll have a Void roll rocket launcher that I keep on each character as well. Now, as far as ghosts, I'm not going to get too much into this, because this is going to be a mainly weapon video, but you can see I have Fallen, Crucible, Vex, Taken, Cabal, and Hive. These are just supplemental ghosts. As far as armor, I never change my armor. I found a roll that I like. I have tier 11. I have all the bonuses that I want. I'd never change my armor on any of my characters. That's that. So looking at my vault, let's go ahead and break into the Pyro vault. You can see that I have 39 weapons in my vault. If we start on page 2, these are all infusion fuel. Like I said, I have heavy weapon package and special package on each of my characters, so I am keeping some 400 specials and heavies just to infuse into the packages that I get here pretty soon from the gunsmith. That way I can just instantly get them to 400. So these don't really count. These are just infusion fuel. Same for Abyss Defiant. I have the Adept version of Abyss Defiant, so I don't really need the Legendary version. I'm not going to use it, so this is just infusion fuel. So we will start with my heavies. I keep all these in orders from heavy to special to primary to Adept exotics and into regular exotics. So starting with my heavy weapons here, I don't keep a whole lot. I just like to keep Void and Arc for the rocket launchers. The solar rocket launcher, of course, will be Gallarhorn. That's what I'm going to use. I'm not going to use a legendary over Gallarhorn if it's solar burn, because Gallarhorn just does so much damage. So the main things that I keep on these, they have to have tracking. That's it. If I get a Something Wicked with tracking, I go ahead and keep that. It's a really, really solid rocket launcher. You can see how high that blast radius is. Rate of fire doesn't really matter. Velocity is pretty good. So these are both just really solid. So I'm going to keep those. I keep a Sound and Fury rocket launcher. It's not the best rocket launcher in the game, but it is pretty strong. You can do a lot of damage with it because you can get a 4-round magazine if you reload when your magazine's empty. You get this, of course, from the Wrath of the Machine raid, so I keep one of those. I keep a Song of Ir-Yût for stuff like Arc Burn. If it's something like, say, Omnigul, I keep this because projectiles will overpenetrate through Hive Knight Wall of Darkness. This actually came in really handy last week when it was Omnigul and that Nightfall was just terrible. This was really good. You get this, of course, from doing the 390 version of Crota. I keep a Quantaplasm shotgun because it's just a solid shotgun. It has Battle Runner on it and some other perks that go along with Battle Runner. You carry a 5-round magazine and it hits pretty hard. And of course you get this from the Wrath of the Machine raid as well. So I keep that. I use it for solar burn every now and then. This Matador is more of a Crucible roll. You can see how much range this thing has. Like I said, I don't play a lot of Crucible, but I do keep a couple of Crucible weapons just in case I decide to ever jump in. If I get super bored, I might jump into Crucible. Last Ditch 001, this is my usual go-to shotgun until I get that Strongbow package with the Void roll on it. But this Strongbow, the reason I like it is because it has full auto, extended mag, and hammer forged. This is a really solid PvE shotgun. The only times that I will use this is if it's something like Void Burn in a Strike or a Nightfall, or if I'm doing the Crota's End raid or the Wrath of the Machine raid. You know, something where you have to get up close to kill the Servitors and Wrath of the Machine, or maybe kill the Swordbearer and Crota. I will keep a shotgun on for that. Next up, my snipers. I love Event Horizon. I don't have one equipped, but you know I have the Solar Event Horizon on each of my characters. I keep a Void Event Horizon and an Arc Event Horizon for when it is either Arc Burn or Void Burn. That way I can just pull one of these from my vault and go on about my business. As far as my auto rifles go, I do have an Extremophile and a Shadow Price Extremophile. This was just a pretty decent roll. It has really good stability with counterbalance, perfect balance. It has extended mag, which on this is really good. It bumps that 37-round magazine up to 45. This was just a really good roll that I got from a package. I've never really used it, and honestly, I probably won't use it, and if push comes to shove, if I do get another primary that I need to infuse a 400 into it, this is probably going to be the first one to go. Next up, the Shadow Price. Shadow Price is always going to hold a special place in my heart, especially this roll right here. Back in year 1, before they started nerfing and buffing all the weapons, auto rifles were really good. And I had a Shadow Price that had Hidden Hand, Injection Mold, and Focus Fire, and the Red Dot OES lens. And it was such a good auto rifle. So when I got this exact same roll from a Vanguard package, I had to keep it. I will pull this out from time to time in stuff like Archon's Forge, or if I'm doing something like a strike, say, for example, that has small arms on, I will bust out this Shadow Price, and I will go have some fun with it. So that's why I keep that. Next up, we have a couple of Wounded rolls. I bought both of these from the vendors. The first one comes with Crowd Control, Hammer Forged, Explosive Rounds, and the Ranged Lens, which is my favorite sight for scout rifles. I keep this because, well, in raids, it's really, really good. With Crowd Control, Explosive Rounds, you can one-shot the Shanks and Wrath of the Machine. You can one-shot a lot of the Acolytes and Thrall and Crota. You can one-shot a lot of stuff with this. And in raids, you really want to be able to one-shot as many enemies as you can. So that's why I keep this Wounded Scout Rifle in my vault. I will bust it out from time to time. I have another Wounded with a similar roll, except this one comes with Crowd Control, Outlaw, and Full Auto. Also, I could do high caliber rounds, but I prefer Full Auto. I could do Hammer Forged, but I prefer Outlaw. But Crowd Control is just a really good perk. And again, this one comes with the ranged lens that I like so much. So I'll bust this one out in strikes with small arms as long as Juggler's not on, because Full Auto will just melt your ammo so fast. But this is a really fun scout rifle to use. and that is why I keep this. Next up, we have the Fang of Ear Ute. I just can't throw this away, man. I just cannot throw this away. Even though the legendary version does not come with arc damage like the Year 1 version does, it still comes with Third Eye, Field Scout, and Spray and Play, which is just really good. It's just a solid workhorse scout rifle. It's really stable, has really good range, and it's arguably the best archetype. So I just keep this. I might use it from time to time, but most of the time it's just going to set in my vault for nostalgic purposes. Next up, again going back to Crucible, we have the Hawksaw. This is my go-to Crucible primary. Aside from Palindrome, it comes with Handlaid stock, full auto, hammer forged, and the SPO-28. This thing has max stability. It is an absolute laser beam, and full auto, there's a lot of debate whether or not full auto is worth having on stuff like this. I say it is, because full auto is going to fire faster than if I were to pull the trigger manually each and every burst. And full auto, you know, you hold down the trigger so you can focus more on aiming as opposed to pulling the trigger. To me, it's more of a convenience perk, but nonetheless, it is really, really good, and I like to have it on this Hawksaw. This is my baby. Next up, we have a Word of Crota Adept version that does void damage. I'll bust this out in Void Burn or Void Burn and Small Arms type strikes. That's the only time I use this. Alternatively, I will bust this out in Nightfalls that have something like, say, Match Game, and I know that there's going to be enemies with Void Shields. This is going to tear down those Void Shields pretty quickly, so that's why I keep this. Some weapons that I do not have, I also have an Atheon's Epilogue Adept from the Vault of Glass challenge that I did last week. I think that that's on my Warlock, but I use that for the same reasons that I use the Word of Crota. I will use that if it's Void Burn or Match Game. Next up, we have Necrochasm. This one I just kind of keep to play around with. I'm not going to use this in any strikes. Maybe if it's Arc Burn and, maybe if it's Arc Burn, Brawler, and Small Arms in a Nightfall, I might use this over something like, say, Zalu Supercell. Or when I get it, Fatebringer's just going to knock this out of the water. I haven't gotten Fatebringer yet, Adept. I got a regular version, but that was it. Zalu Supercell is going to be my go-to arc auto rifle over this one pretty much any day of the week. Abyss Defiant, again, this is an Adept version. This is Solar, so I'm not really going to use this a whole lot unless it's Solar Burn and maybe something like Small Arms, or if it's Solar Burn against Hive, and I know that there's going to be a lot of wizards because the projectiles disorient wizards, but that's the only time I'm going to use this. Truth, I go ahead and keep a Truth just because it's Truth, man. It's really good. Even though Bungie turned it into a one-round magazine, which is just stupid. But they did, luckily, increase the reload speed. Truth is not what it used to be, but it does have its moments. Void Burn, Juggler, stuff like that is what I might use Truth on. Dragon's Breath, I keep this for one reason, and one reason... Oh, well, no, I take that back. Two reasons. If I'm doing the Shield Brothers Nightfall and it is Solar Burn, I will use this because it absolutely melts those ads. Alternatively, if I feel like soloing the old version of Crota, I will use Dragon's Breath because you can put one rocket at his feet, he stands in the fire, and he goes down every single time. Those are the only two situations where I will use Dragon's Breath. Trespasser, I keep this for one reason and one reason only, and that is for the weekly Vanguard bounties, the elite bounties, where you have to get like a 9-kill streak with a special weapon. This one is really easy to get that 9-kill streak with in the Nightfalls, so I will just pop into a Nightfall, go to a patrol area, and get my special weapon sprees, or whatever they're called, the 9-kill streak. Fourth Horseman, I keep this for when it is Arc Burn and Specialist, or something like Specialist and Airborne, or Arc Burn and Specialist, like any combination of those three perks. I keep this because it will absolutely melt a boss. Fourth Horseman hits like an absolute truck with a 5-round magazine and full auto. It just does so much damage with those modifiers. So that's why I keep the Fourth Horseman. Lord of Wolves. Lord of Wolves is super underrated, man. I use this a lot when it is Solar Burn and Specialist, Solar Burn and Airborne. You can absolutely melt enemies with this thing. I use this a lot in Challenge of Elders, mainly the Cabal guy, or the Taken Cabal guy in the Cabal room. You can get him in that back corner, and you can kind of lure him up to this little wall area, and you can shoot over the wall and just absolutely melt him. It's really fun. Next up, the Queenbreaker's Bow. This is a very situational exotic. I will only use this if it is Arc Burn and Juggler. And the reason being is because if you have the bonuses on your armor, you can carry 60 plus rounds of ammo with this thing, so Juggler just doesn't even come into play. But I only do that when it's Juggler and Arc Burn combined, so Queenbreaker's Bow is going to be a very situational exotic for me. Most of the time, when it is Arc Burn and Specialist or something like that, I'm going to use Plan C up until I get to the boss, and then I will switch to Event Horizon or something like that for boss DPS. But Plan C, one of my favorite exotics, always has been, probably always will. Super, super, super good. Next up, the last word. I don't use this. The only reason that I have this in my vault is because I'm waiting to get the ornaments for it. That's it. Once I get the ornaments, I'll pop that on, and I just want to see what it looks like and go use it. But other than that, that's the only reason that I have a last word in my vault. Much like the Extremophile, if push comes to shove and I need to infuse a primary up to 400, last word will be sacrificed. Next up, the First Curse hand cannon. This is actually one of my favorite hand cannons in the game, because if you take your shots right with these perks, you can fire like 20 rounds before you have to reload, and this thing hits like an absolute truck. I will bust this out pretty much anytime I'm doing Challenge of Elders, and it is a precision bonus. This thing is so easy to get precisions with. The sights are so sticky. It has such good target acquisition. I love the First Curse, man. I really do. Next up, Thorn. I keep this one mainly for nostalgia. Back in year 1, I used Thorn a lot in PvE. It wasn't terrible, but Thorn actually has its place, man. If you're doing like a Cabal strike or something like that, you can shoot the Cabal Centurions that have the little shield, or Phalanx, whatever they're called, that have the little shields, and it will stun them so that they move their shield out of the way, and you can land precision shots pretty easily. So that's why I keep Thorn. I actually do use this in PvE from time to time still. Next up, the No Time to Explain Pulse Rifle. You get this, of course, from doing the Vault of Glass Strike. I forget what it's called, but you go collect all the ghosts, and then it takes you to a Taken room, and you kill the Taken guy. You get this little thing, then you go kill Atheon. I'm sure you guys can Google it or YouTube it and find out how to do it. But I keep this for when it is small arms in strikes, because if you land all precisions, you get your magazine back automatically. So you just essentially fire forever. And it's really good, man. With small arms on and a strike, you can just melt bosses with this thing. It's super good. Next up, Red Death. I keep this in my vault, and I only use it when it is exposure in a strike or a nightfall, something like that. Red Death, of course, gives you your health back every time you get a kill, so it's just super good to have. And lastly, we have Touch of Malice. I only use this in the King's Fall raid for obvious reasons. It used to be much, much more better back when you could still do the, what's it called, Blessing of Light bubble, and you could keep that buff and then just kind of dip in and out of the bubble, keep getting blessings of light and get your shield back. But since they patched that, this is really only going to be useful in the King's Fall raid now. So for that reason, that's the only time I use this. I'll actually be using this weekend. Since King's Fall is the weekly featured raid this week, I'll go ahead and do the raid. I haven't been in much of a hurry to do the raid. Like, I've done Crota once, I've done Vault of Glass once. We didn't do Templar Challenge, we just did Atheon Challenge, and I got the Atheon's epilogue. But, like I said, that's on another character. But Touch of Malice is really good, man. I really like Touch of Malice for King's Fall raid, mainly, like, just for Oryx. That's the only time that I'm going to use it. Oryx and Sisters. But, or Oryx and Daughters, whatever you want to call it. But that's it, guys. That's my vault. And some of you may be wondering why my vault is so scarce. And it's because, well, as you play Destiny, the longer you go in Destiny, the more you find weapons that just stand out so far above all the other ones. And, you know, once you find those great weapons, you don't really need to keep all these other weapons. Like, so many people just hoard weapons in Destiny. Like, their entire weapon section of their vault, all 108 slots will be filled. And I'm just like, you're never going to use all those, you know? Like, what's the point? I mean, literally, I can jump into any activity right now with just the weapons that I keep on each of my characters, and I'd be okay. You know, all the weapons in my vault, like, they're just so situational that I'm not going to use them hardly ever. But, you know, I just kind of keep them because, you know, why not? I might use them from time to time. Maybe sometimes I want to mix things up. I'll do something a little different. That's about it. But other than that, I'm very much a minimalist in Destiny, honestly. Like, I don't do the whole hoarding thing. But anyway, I just wanted to show you guys what's in my vault. I know you guys have been asking since I've showed some of the weapons that I have, just kind of teased them a little bit. But yeah, that's it, man. I don't keep a lot. I get by with what I have. I have my stuff that I like, and that's what I use. Drop a comment in the box below. Let me know how many weapons you have in your vault, and let me know how many weapons you keep on your characters at any given time. But that's going to bring this video to an end, guys. If you enjoyed it, click like. If you're new to the channel, click subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, I fucking love you. Thank you for watching. Take care, guys.